The breathing cargo. The reefer unit died at 2:47 a.m. on Interstate 80, and that's when I heard my cargo take its first breath. I'd been hauling refrigerated freight for 12 years, mostly meat, sometimes produce, but I'd never heard anything like the wet, rattling inhale that came from the trailer behind me. My CB crackled with static. Outside, nothing but Nebraska darkness, stretched for miles in every direction, the kind of empty that makes you feel like the last person alive. I pulled onto the shoulder, convinced a deer had somehow gotten into the trailer at the last warehouse. It happened sometimes. I grabbed my flashlight and walked back, my boots crunching on gravel. The temperature gauge read 67 degrees and climbing. Whatever was in there, 32,000 pounds of mixed meat products, according to my manifest, was going to spoil fast. The breathing grew louder as I approached the doors, not panting, not gasping. Slow, deliberate breaths, in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds, mechanical in its precision. I pressed my ear against the cold metal door and immediately jerked back. The entire trailer was vibrating with each exhale, the metal humming like a tuning fork. I called my dispatcher. Voicemail. I called the refrigeration company. Voicemail. I called the shipper, a meat processing plant in Omaha called Hendricks Premium Proteins. The phone rang 47 times before someone picked up. "The cargo is breathing," I said. Silence on the other end. Then, "What trailer number?" "HPP 7739. More silence. I heard papers shuffling, computer keys clicking. Then a woman's voice, older, tired. "Sir, that trailer doesn't exist in our system." "I'm looking at it right now. Your logo is on the side." "I'm telling you, we've never used that number. Our trailers start with HPP 1, and our highest number is HPP 2286. The breathing behind me grew faster, excited. I hung up and checked my paperwork. The pickup address was legitimate. I'd been there a dozen times. But now that I thought about it, the loading dock had been different. Dock 9 instead of the usual Dock 3. Different workers, too. None of the faces I recognized. They'd loaded the trailer themselves, wouldn't let me watch, said it was a contamination protocol. The manifest listed the destination as a restaurant supply company in Sacramento. I called them. The night manager said they'd canceled their order 3 days ago. They weren't expecting any delivery. My hands started shaking. The breathing changed rhythm. Now it was 3 short inhales, followed by 1 long, shuddering exhale. 3 short, 1 long, 3 short, 1 long. Like a pattern, like communication. I should have called the police. I should have left the trailer and driven away. Instead, I walked to the back doors and grabbed the handle. It was warm, body temperature. The metal seal was intact, the inspection tag unbroken, but underneath the official, stickers. Someone had carved words into the paint with something sharp. "Don't open until Sacramento. They need to stay cold if they wake up." The message ended there, the letters trailing off into frantic scratch marks. I broke the seal. The doors swung open and a wave of smell hit me. Not rot, not yet, but something worse. Copper and ammonia, and underneath it all, something sweet and organic, like overripe fruit. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness inside. The trailer was empty. No pallets, no boxes, no meat. Just bare walls and a floor drain in the center, crusted with something dark. But the breathing continued, louder now, coming from everywhere at once. The walls themselves seemed to expand and contract. Condensation ran down the interior in rivulets, and in the beam of my flashlight, I saw the drops were running upward, defying gravity, collecting on the ceiling. I climbed inside. Stupid. So goddamn stupid. But I had to know. The temperature was exactly 98.6 degrees. Body temperature. The floor was soft under my boots, yielding slightly with each step like I was walking on something alive. The breathing synchronized with my own heartbeat. I could feel it in my chest, my lungs expanding and contracting in rhythm with the trailer itself. That's when I saw them. The walls weren't metal, not anymore. They were lined with something pink and wet, with visible veins pulsing just beneath the surface. The ribbed interior of the trailer had become actual ribs, curved bones pressing against translucent tissue. The roof was a palate. The floor was a tongue. I was standing inside something's throat. The tongue began to undulate, trying to push me deeper. I ran for the doors, but they were closing, swinging shut on their own. I dove through the gap and hit the gravel hard, rolling away as the doors slammed with a sound like jaws snapping shut. The breathing stopped. I got in my cab and drove. I left the trailer on the shoulder and drove until my fuel light came on, until Nebraska became Wyoming, until the sun came up and I could convince myself I'd imagined it. But I hadn't. 3 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. The same tired woman's voice from Hendricks. "The trailer's been recovered. Your final payment has been deposited. The company thanks you for your discretion." What the hell was in there? "Your contract included a non-disclosure agreement, Mr. Patterson. You signed it at the loading dock. If you speak about this delivery to anyone, the penalties are severe. Do you understand?" I didn't remember signing anything, but when I checked my bank account, there was a deposit. Not my usual rate, $50,000. The next week I took a load from the same Omaha plant. Different dock, normal cargo, no problems. But as I was leaving, I saw Dock 9 in my mirror. There were 7 trailers backed up to it, and I could see them all moving, breathing, rising and falling in perfect synchronization. I saw workers in hazmat suits using hoses, spraying something into the trailers. The liquid was dark red and steaming in the cold morning air. One of the workers saw me watching. He made a slashing motion across his throat. A warning. I drive for a different company now. I refuse loads from Omaha. But sometimes, late at night on empty highways, I'll pass a Hendricks trailer on the road, and I can see them breathing. All of them. Hundreds of trucks carrying whatever grows in Dock 9, whatever they're feeding, whatever they're delivering to places that don't exist on any map. Last month, I stopped at a truck stop in Iowa. There was a new driver there, young kid, excited about his first long haul. He showed me his manifest. Pickup from Hendricks Premium Proteins in Omaha, Dock 9. Delivery to Sacramento. I told him not to take the load. I told him to refuse it, quit if he had to. He laughed, said he needed the money, said I was just trying to scare the rookie. I gave him my number, told him to call me when the reefer unit died. That was 3 weeks ago. He never called. His truck was found abandoned on Interstate 80 in Nebraska, reefer unit dead, trailer doors wide open. The trailer was empty. So was his cab. His last CB transmission was logged at 2:47 a.m. All it said was, "It's breathing." They never found his body. But the trailer is back in service. HPP 7739. I see it sometimes on the road, and I swear, through the walls I can hear 2 sets of breathing now. 2 rhythms overlapping, one slow and steady, one fast and panicked. I don't stop at Hendricks anymore, but last week I received a new manifest. The pickup location made my blood run cold. Hendricks Premium Proteins, Omaha, Dock 9. Delivery to Sacramento. The trailer number, HPP 7739. At the bottom, handwritten in red ink, special request. Driver must be experienced with temperature-sensitive cargo. My phone rang. The tired woman's voice. "We'll see you Tuesday, Mr. Patterson. Dock 9. Don't be late." She hung up before I could refuse. That's tomorrow. I'm parked at a rest stop now, writing this on my laptop. I don't know what to do. The deposit already appeared in my account. $100,000 this time. My wife needs surgery. My daughter's college tuition is due. I'm going to take the load. God forgive me. I'm going to Dock 9 tomorrow morning. And when that reefer unit dies at 2:47 a.m. somewhere on Interstate 80, when I hear that first wet, rattling breath, I'm going to keep driving. I'm going to deliver whatever's in that trailer to wherever it needs to go. Because I looked at my contract tonight. Really looked at it. The non-disclosure agreement I don't remember signing. At the bottom, in letters so small I needed a magnifying glass to read them, it says, "In the event of contract termination, driver agrees to serve as supplementary cargo for one standard delivery." They're not paying me to stay quiet. They're paying me because I'm already theirs. I was theirs the moment I opened those doors and stepped inside. The moment I breathed that air. The moment my heartbeat synchronized with the breathing of whatever waits in Dock 9. I can feel it now, even here, my chest rising and falling in that familiar rhythm. 3 short breaths, 1 long, 3 short, 1 long. I'm not driving to Omaha tomorrow to pick up cargo. I am the cargo, and I've been breathing wrong for 3 weeks. Story 2. The mile marker that moved. Mile marker 186 on Route 491 through Utah appeared in my headlights at 11:43 p.m., and I knew something was wrong because I'd passed it 17 minutes ago. I'm not some rookie who loses track of distance. I've been running this route, Albuquerque to Grand Junction, twice a week for 8 years. I know every curve, every grade, every place where the state troopers hide. And I know for a fact that mile marker 186 comes exactly 42 minutes after you leave the Route 160 junction. I'd passed it already. I'd noted the time, because that's what I do. Mental checkpoints to fight off the highway hypnosis. Mile 186 at 11:26 p.m., right on schedule. Now it was 11:43 p.m., and there it was again. I checked my odometer. I'd traveled 19 miles since the first time I'd seen it. But according to the mile markers, I'd traveled 0 miles. The same stretch of highway, the same marker, appearing right where it shouldn't exist. My GPS showed me moving forward. The little blue arrow crawled along Route 491, tracking my progress normally. But the landscape outside my window wasn't changing. Same rock formations, same sparse vegetation, same gentle curve to the left about a quarter mile past the marker. I grabbed my CB radio. "This is Tombstone 74. Anyone on 491 northbound? Over. Static. Anyone running 491 tonight? I'm at mile marker 186. Need a radio check." More static, but underneath it something else. A rhythmic clicking, like someone keying their mic in a pattern. Click, click, click. Pause. Click, click, click. Pause. "Identify yourself," I said. The clicking stopped. A voice came through, male, strained. "Don't stop driving. Whatever you do, don't stop." "Who is this?" "Mile 186. How many times have you passed it?" My mouth went dry. "Twice. I'm on my 11th time." The voice cracked. "I've been driving this stretch for 6 hours. My fuel gauge hasn't moved. My odometer keeps resetting. Every time I pass the marker, it's 11:43 p.m. again. Always 11:43. I looked at my clock. 11:43 p.m. I'd been looking at it when I passed the marker the second time. It had been 11:43 then. I was sure of it. But now, checking my phone, it showed 11:44. The truck's digital clock still read 11:43. "What happens if we stop?" I asked. "I don't know. But I saw another truck on the shoulder about an hour ago. My time, anyway. Old Freightliner, just sitting there with its lights on. I passed it on my 3rd loop. It was there on my 4th loop. On my 5th loop, the cab door was open. On my 6th loop, the driver's seat was empty, but the engine was still running. Jesus, where is it now? That's the thing. On my 7th loop, the truck was gone. Not driven away, just gone. but there was something else in its place. My headlights caught mile marker 186 again. 11:43 p.m., third loop. What was in its place? I whispered. You'll see it on your next pass. Look for the mile marker, then look about 50 yards beyond it on the right shoulder. The road curved left. I followed it, hands tight on the wheel. My fuel gauge read 3/4 full. It had read 3/4 full when I started this stretch. It had read 3/4 full for the last 45 minutes. I counted the seconds. At highway speed, it took me approximately 8 minutes to loop back to the marker. 8 minutes that felt like 8 hours. My GPS continued showing forward progress. The blue arrow reached Grand Junction, then disappeared off the map's edge, but outside my window, the same rock formations scrolled past. Mile marker 186 appeared again. 11:43 p.m. Fourth loop. I looked to the right shoulder, 50 yards ahead. There was a figure standing there. At first, I thought it was a person in the road, maybe someone from the missing freightliner. But as my headlights swept across it, I realized it wasn't human. It was too tall, 8 feet, maybe 9, and it stood perfectly still with its arms at its sides. It wore what looked like a trucker's clothes, jeans and a flannel shirt, but they hung wrong on its elongated frame. Its head turned to follow my truck as I passed, not like a human turning their neck. The entire head rotated 180 degrees, smoothly, mechanically, keeping its face pointed at me as I drove by. I couldn't see its face clearly, just 2 points of reflected light where eyes should be and a dark opening where its mouth was. Too wide, too far down, like its jaw had been stretched. Did you see it? The CB crackled to life. Yeah, what is it? No idea, but it's different every time. On my 7th loop, it was wearing my clothes. Same jacket, same company logo on the hat. On my 9th loop, it was closer to the road. On my 10th loop, it was standing on the white line. Where is it on your 11th loop? Silence. Then, I'll tell you in about 4 minutes. I drove. The road curved left. The landscape repeated. I tried something different. I slowed down, driving 50 miles per hour instead of 70. It didn't matter. The mile marker appeared after exactly 8 minutes. 11:43 p.m., 5th loop. The figure was standing in the right lane now, directly in my path. I swerved left to avoid it, my trailer fishtailing slightly. As I passed, it raised one arm and pointed down the road. Ahead. Forward. Keep going. Its hand had too many fingers. Tombstone 74, you there? The CB voice sounded weaker now. I'm here. 5th loop. That thing was in the road. Yeah, it's getting bolder. On my current loop, I've lost count now. It's standing right at the mile marker. I have to drive past it every single time. It's touching the trucks now. I felt it brush against my trailer on the last pass. What do you mean you've lost count? I mean I don't know how many times I've passed anymore. It feels like I've been driving this stretch for days. My phone died. My CB is dying. The only thing that still works is the truck itself. It just keeps going. We need to stop. We need to call for help. No. The voice was sharp, desperate. Don't stop. A couple loops ago, I slowed down. I was going to pull over, try to figure this out. The thing appeared in my passenger window. It was keeping pace with my truck, gliding along beside me, its face pressed against the glass. It was mouthing words. What words? Stop and find out. Mile marker 186, 11:43 p.m., 6th loop. The figure was next to the marker now, one hand resting on top of the sign. As I approached, it stepped into the road, not toward me. It positioned itself so I'd have to choose, swerve right onto the narrow shoulder, possibly losing control, or swerve left into oncoming traffic. I split the difference, aiming straight for it. My truck passed through it like it wasn't there. But in my mirrors, I saw it reform behind me, turning its impossible head to watch me disappear around the curve. The CB was silent now. I called out, "Tombstone 74 to unknown driver. Are you there?" Over. Nothing. I realized I'd never asked his truck number, never gotten his name. For all I knew, he was the driver of that abandoned freightliner. Maybe he'd been looping for days, weeks. Maybe time worked differently here, and he'd been trapped for years in the 8 minutes it took to complete a circuit. 7th loop. The figure was gone from the road, but I saw something new. Tire marks on the shoulder, fresh skid marks as if someone had swerved hard to the right. They led off into the desert scrub and disappeared into darkness. 8th loop. The mile marker was bent now, leaning at a 45-degree angle like something had hit it. The number was smeared, the paint running as if it were melting. 186 was bleeding into 189, into 192, into numbers that didn't exist. 9th loop. There were multiple markers now, dozens of them, sprouting from the ground like metal weeds, all showing different numbers, all impossibly close together. I saw mile 200, mile 150, mile 7, mile 999. They flickered as I passed, the numbers changing, counting up and down simultaneously. 10th loop. Every marker showed the same number now, 186. But they were in the wrong font, the wrong style. Some were wooden, some were stone. I passed one that looked ancient, carved with symbols instead of numbers, symbols that hurt to look at. 11th loop. The road itself was changing. The asphalt had cracks that glowed faintly, like magma showing through cooling lava. The white line was wider, brighter, almost luminescent. It pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat. I tried to remember what the other driver had said. What had he been on? His 11th loop? His 20th? How long had I been driving? I checked my phone. Dead. The truck's clock, 11:43 p.m. My watch, 11:43 p.m. The time was stuck, frozen, but I felt exhaustion creeping in. My body knew more time had passed than the clocks admitted. 12th loop, or was it the 15th? I'd lost count. The figure was back, but there were more of them now. 7 figures, all in truckers' clothes, all too tall and wrong. They stood in a line across both lanes, arms linked, swaying slightly in a wind I couldn't feel. I had to stop. My body was screaming for rest. My eyes burned. My hands cramped on the wheel. But the other driver's words echoed. "Don't stop." I drove through the line of figures. They parted like smoke, reforming in my mirrors, multiplying. Now there were 20. Now 50. The shoulder was crowded with them, a parade of impossible things wearing human clothes, all turning their stretched heads to watch me pass. That's when I understood. This wasn't a loop. It was a filter, a sorting mechanism. Each pass was a test. The weak stopped, gave up, pulled over. They became the figures. The strong kept driving, kept refusing to yield, until what? The next time mile marker 186 appeared, something was different. The number had changed. It now read 187. My CB erupted with voices, dozens of them, all talking at once. "He's moving forward." "How did he?" "It's been 17 years. Keep going, keep going, keep going." Mile marker 188, 11:44 p.m. Time was moving again. Mile marker 189. My GPS reactivated, recalculating. My fuel gauge dropped to half. My phone buzzed with 3 days' worth of missed messages. Mile marker 190. The figures were gone. The road was normal. Through my CB, I heard the other driver's voice, weak but relieved. "You made it out. Congratulations. Most don't. Where are you?" "Still here. Still looping. But you're free. Don't come back for me. Don't tell anyone about this. They'll think you're crazy, or they'll want to investigate, and this stretch will get busy again. It feeds on drivers. The more that come, the hungrier it gets. Mile marker 195. I was sobbing with relief. How long were you trapped? I asked. I don't know anymore. My daughter was 7 when I started this run. I had her picture on my dashboard. The photo disintegrated years ago. The frame is dust. How old would she be now? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Do me a favor, he said. If you ever see a news story about a missing trucker on Route 491, if you see my name, it's Marcus Webb, by the way. Tell them I didn't abandon my family. Tell them I tried to come home. I will. Liar, but I appreciate it. Drive safe out there, Tombstone 7-4. And whatever you do, don't take Route 491 northbound between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and midnight. That's when it's hungry. The CB went silent. I drove straight through to Grand Junction, delivered my load, and immediately requested a route change. My dispatcher gave me grief about it, but I insisted. I told her I needed southern routes, daytime only, nothing through Utah. She pulled up my logs and went quiet. According to this, she said, you didn't drive through Utah. Your GPS shows you taking I-70 the whole way. Route 491 isn't even in your travel history. I checked my own GPS. She was right. The entire loop, all those passes by mile marker 186, none of it existed in my digital footprint. According to every system, I'd taken a completely different route. But my odometer was wrong. I'd driven an extra 127 miles that didn't exist on any map. Last month, I saw a news story. A trucker named Marcus Webb had been found dead in his cab on Route 491 in Utah. The reporter said his body was mummified, as if he'd been dead for decades, but his truck registration was only 3 years old. The coroner estimated he'd been sitting in that cab for 20 to 30 years. The truck's odometer read 186 miles, repeating over and over on the digital display, a glitch they couldn't explain. They found his daughter. She was 43 years old. She'd been 7 the last time she saw him. I wanted to tell her what he'd said, that he tried to come home. But how do you explain that her father died in a time loop, that he spent decades driving the same 8-minute stretch of highway, aging in a place where clocks never moved past 11:43? I still drive at night sometimes, different routes, different states. But I've noticed something. There are other places like mile marker 186. I've found 3 so far: a stretch of I-90 in Montana, a section of Route 50 in Nevada, an unnamed county road in West Virginia. You can recognize them. The landmarks repeat too soon. The time sticks. The fuel gauge lies. And if you're unlucky enough to be there during the feeding hours, you'll see them standing on the shoulder. The ones who stopped. The ones who couldn't keep going. They're wearing trucker clothes that rotted away decades ago. They're tall and wrong and patient, and they're always pointing forward, encouraging you to keep driving, to join them in their endless loop. I still take long hauls. I still drive through the night. But now I keep a notebook, logging every mile marker, every timestamp, checking for repetition. The moment something appears twice, I pull over in a truck stop and wait for dawn. Because I learned something important on Route 491. Those stretches of highway aren't loops, they're throats, and if you stop moving, they swallow you whole. Marcus Webb is still out there somewhere, still driving mile marker 186, still trying to reach 187. His daughter is 43. His granddaughter just turned 12. His wife died last year. He's been driving that same 8 minutes for 3 decades. And every night at 11:43 p.m. on Route 491 northbound, his CB transmission comes through. Don't stop driving. Whatever you do, don't stop. Somewhere, someone is hearing it for the first time. Somewhere, someone is starting their first loop, and the road is feeding again. Story 3. The passenger who wouldn't leave. She was standing at the Love's Travel stop in Amarillo at 3:17 a.m., and every instinct I had screamed at me not to pick her up. But I did it anyway, because she looked exactly like my daughter. Not similar, not reminiscent, exactly like Sarah. Same auburn hair, same slight build, same way of shifting her weight from foot to foot when she was nervous. My Sarah was home in Pittsburgh, probably asleep in her dorm room at Carnegie Mellon. This girl was standing alone in a Texas parking lot, thumb out, eyes pleading. I pulled over. First time in 23 years I'd ever picked up a hitchhiker. "Where you heading?" I asked through the open passenger window. "East." Her voice was Sarah's voice. Same pitch, same slight rasp. "As far as you're going." "I'm running to Atlanta." "Perfect." She opened the door and climbed up. She moved like Sarah, that same economical grace. She even smelled like Sarah. Vanilla body spray, and the specific brand of shampoo my daughter had used since high school. We drove in silence for the first hour. I kept glancing over, comparing her to the mental image of my daughter. The resemblance was uncanny, unsettling. She caught me looking and smiled. "I remind you of someone," she said. Not a question. "My daughter." "That's sweet." She shifted in her seat, getting comfortable. "Most truckers don't stop for hitchhikers anymore. Too many horror stories." "Yeah, well, you looked cold." I was. She held her hands up to the heating vent. Her fingernails were painted the exact shade of purple Sarah preferred. "Thank you for stopping. Really. You might have saved my life." Something in the way she said it made my skin crawl. We crossed into Oklahoma. Dawn was still an hour away. The highway was empty, just us and the endless white line stretching toward the horizon. She fell asleep, or pretended to, with her head against the window. That's when I noticed her reflection. In the passenger window, against the darkness outside, I could see her profile. But it wasn't quite right. The angle was wrong. She was leaning left, but her reflection showed her facing forward. I blinked, convinced it was a trick of the light. The reflection smiled. Not the sleeping girl. Just the reflection. Its mouth curved up in a grin that was too wide, showing too many teeth. I jerked my eyes back to the road, heart hammering. When I looked again, the reflection was normal. The girl was still asleep, breathing softly. "How far to Atlanta?" Her voice made me jump. She was awake, watching me with Sarah's brown eyes. "About 13 hours from here." "Long trip." "Yeah." "You must get lonely. All these hours alone." "Sometimes." "That's why I appeared to look like your daughter." She said it casually, like she was commenting on the weather. "To make you comfortable, to make you stop." My blood turned to ice water. "What?" "Oh." She tilted her head, exactly like Sarah did when she was thinking. "I shouldn't have said that yet. I'm supposed to wait until we're farther from populated areas. You might try to kick me out if there are other people around." I started to slow down, looking for an exit. Any exit. "Don't." Her voice was sharp now, losing Sarah's warmth. "If you stop this truck, I'll hurt you. If you try to make me leave, I'll hurt you very badly. We're going to keep driving to Atlanta, and you're going to deliver your cargo, and you're not going to tell anyone I'm here. Do you understand?" "What are you?" She laughed. It sounded like wind through a broken window. "I'm a passenger. That's all you need to know." We drove through Oklahoma in silence. She sat perfectly still, not fidgeting, not sleeping, just staring straight ahead. As the sun came up, I got my first clear look at her in natural light. The resemblance to Sarah was fading. Her hair was a slightly different shade. Her nose was a bit too narrow. Her hands were older than they should be, the skin papery and thin. It was like watching a mask slowly slip. "You're noticing," she said. "That's fine. I don't need to look like her anymore. You're not going to put me out." "Why not?" "Because you're curious. Because you want to know what I am and why I'm here. Because you're afraid of what I'll do if you try. Pick your favorite reason." She was right. I was afraid. But more than that, I was fascinated. In 23 years of driving, I'd seen strange things. Lights in the sky. Figures that shouldn't exist. Places that didn't match the map. But I'd never seen anything that could change its face, that could read my mind and pull out an image of my daughter. "What's in the trailer?" she asked. "Electronics, computer parts." "Liar." She turned to look at me fully. Her eyes had changed color. They were black now, not brown. Completely black. No whites, no pupils. "There are 14 crates in your trailer. 12 contain what your manifest says. 2 contain something else, something that doesn't appear on any paperwork. You picked them up at a warehouse in Santa Fe that isn't on your log. You're not supposed to know they're there." My hands tightened on the wheel. She was right. The Santa Fe pickup was off books, cash payment, don't ask, don't tell. I'd done it 3 times before. Extra $2,000 in my pocket, no taxes, no questions. I'd convinced myself it was probably just antiquities, some rich collector avoiding import duties. "What's in those crates?" I asked. "Seeds." "Seeds?" "Very special seeds, from a place that shouldn't be accessed. Someone paid a lot of money to have them transported quietly." She smiled with those black eyes. "And I'm here to make sure they arrive safely." "Your security?" "In a manner of speaking, those seeds need very specific conditions to remain dormant. Temperature between 68 and 72 degrees. No sudden movements. No excessive vibration. And most importantly, they can't be exposed to certain frequencies of sound." "What happens if they are?" "They wake up." We drove through Arkansas. She didn't eat, didn't drink, didn't ask for bathroom breaks. She just sat there, occasionally checking her reflection in the side mirror. Once, I caught her pulling at her face, adjusting something underneath the skin, tugging it back into place. "How long have you been doing this?" I asked. "Riding with truckers?" 73 years, since 1951. I used to hitchhike on Route 66, back when it was busy. I'd look like someone's wife, their sweetheart, whatever would make them stop. Most of the time, I was just traveling, but occasionally, I was protecting cargo. "What are you protecting it from?" "Other things like me, things that want those seeds for their own purposes. There are 17 of us operating in the United States right now, and we're all trying to intercept these shipments. I'm the only one who succeeded this time." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because in about 45 minutes, they're going to try to take the seeds, and when they do, I need you to keep driving, no matter what you see." We crossed into Tennessee. The sun was high now, traffic picking up. Normal people in normal cars, living normal lives, completely unaware that the truck next to them was carrying something that shouldn't exist. That's when the CB radio erupted with static. Through the noise, I heard a voice. My voice. "This is Tombstone 74 requesting immediate assistance. My passenger is threatening me. I'm on I-40 eastbound, mile marker 267. Please help." "I didn't say that," I whispered. "I know." The girl was tense now, alert. "They're trying to force you to stop. Don't respond. Don't acknowledge it." More voices came through the CB. My daughter's voice. "Dad? Dad, where are you? I need you." My wife's voice. "Honey, please pull over. Something's wrong with the truck." My own voice. "Mayday, mayday. This is Tombstone 74. Trailer fire. Repeat, trailer fire." "They're not real," the girl said. "Keep driving." I looked in my mirrors. There was a car behind me, a silver Honda Civic. The driver's face was wrong. It kept shifting, cycling through different people. Man, woman, child, elderly. Back to a man. All of them staring at me with those same black eyes. "They're here," she said. The Honda accelerated, pulling alongside my trailer. I watched in the mirror as the passenger window rolled down. Something reached out. Not an arm, something too long, too flexible, with too many joints. It touched the side of my trailer, and I felt the entire truck shudder. "Don't slow down," the girl commanded. The thing from the Honda was scratching at the trailer's side, trying to find a seam, a weakness, any way in. I could hear it over the road noise, a high-pitched squealing like metal on metal. Another vehicle appeared on my left, a pickup truck with 3 more of those things inside, all wearing human faces that didn't fit quite right. They boxed me in, matching my speed exactly. "They're going to try to make you crash," the girl said, "or they're going to produce a sound that'll wake the seeds. Either way, we need to break through." "How?" She reached over and grabbed my hand. Her skin was cold, corpse cold, but her grip was iron. "Trust me, and don't let go." She started to hum. It wasn't a melody. It was something deeper, something that bypassed my ears and went straight into my bones. The truck responded, the engine revving higher than it should, the speedometer climbing past 80, past 90, past any safe speed. The Honda and the pickup tried to keep pace. The things inside them were howling now, producing their own sounds, frequencies that made my teeth ache and my vision blur. The girl's humming grew louder. Her face was changing again, the human mask falling away completely. Underneath was something else, something with too many angles, too many dimensions. Looking at her directly made my eyes water, made my brain hurt trying to process geometry that shouldn't exist. "They're going to make me solid," she screamed. "They're going to lock me into this form and push me out. You have to drive faster." I floored it. The truck hit 110 miles per hour. The trailer was fishtailing. I was going to jackknife. I was going to kill someone. The things in the Honda and pickup were reaching through their windows now, extending those impossible limbs, grabbing for my trailer, for my cab, for me. Then the girl let go of my hand and threw open her door. She jumped out at 110 miles per hour. But she didn't fall. She flowed backward, her body stretching and reforming, becoming something enormous that wrapped around my trailer like a cocoon. Through my mirrors, I saw her true form, if it could be called a form. She was protection made manifest, a living shield that intercepted every reaching limb, every attempt to breach the cargo. The Honda swerved, its occupants pulling back. The pickup fell behind. Within seconds, the other vehicles were gone, vanished, like they'd never existed. The girl, the thing, flowed forward again, reconstituting itself in the passenger seat. The human mask was back, but it was exhausted now, barely holding together. "That was close," she breathed. "Too close. They're getting stronger." I slowed back to a legal speed, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the wheel. "What the hell just happened?" "You survived your first interception. Congratulations." She closed her eyes. "I need to rest. Wake me when we're 50 miles from Atlanta. I want answers. What are those seeds? What happens if they wake up?" "Nothing good. They're from a place called the Verdant Threshold, a dimension that exists alongside yours, just slightly out of phase. A place where things grow wrong, where plants have intentions and hunger. Those seeds are samples. Scientists think they can weaponize them, create new biological tools. They're idiots. Why? Because you can't weaponize something that's already awake and malevolent. Those seeds aren't dormant. They're just waiting. And every shipment that makes it to a lab is another opportunity for them to establish themselves in your world. Then why are you helping deliver them? She opened one black eye. Because if I don't, someone else will. Someone who'll make mistakes. Someone who'll let them wake up in transit, or crash the truck, or open the containers out of curiosity. At least when I'm escorting, I can ensure they reach the facility intact. Once they're there, they're contained, controlled. Probably. Nothing about the verdant threshold is certain. We drove the rest of the way in silence. She rested, her breathing shallow, her form flickering occasionally between human and something else. As we approached Atlanta, she sat up, stretching. "Thank you for not panicking," she said. "Most drivers do. They try to kick me out, or they call the police, or they crash the truck trying to get away. You stayed calm. I was terrified. But you kept driving. That's all that matters." She checked the GPS. "The delivery point is a warehouse in Doraville. You'll back up to Dock 7. Men in white suits will unload the cargo. They won't speak to you. You'll sign a paper and leave. You'll never mention this delivery to anyone. Understood? And if I do, then I'll have to come back and make sure you stay quiet. I don't want to do that. I like you. You remind me of someone I used to protect, a long time ago." We pulled into the facility at 4:33 p.m., right on schedule. Everything happened exactly as she'd described. Men in hazmat suits, Dock 7, paperwork that didn't match my manifest. They unloaded the entire trailer, including the 2 crates I wasn't supposed to know about. When I got back in my cab, she was gone. The passenger seat was empty, no sign she'd ever been there. Except for one thing. A handprint on the dashboard, pressed into the plastic like it was soft clay. The hand had 7 fingers. I drove away and haven't taken an off-books load since. But last month, I saw a news story. A research facility in Atlanta had been evacuated due to a biological contamination event. Satellite footage showed the building covered in vegetation, massive vines and growth that had consumed the structure in less than 48 hours. The plants were still growing when they firebombed the site. My phone rang at 3:17 a.m., the night after the fire. I didn't recognize the number. "Hello?" They woke up. It was her voice, Sarah's voice. Despite all precautions, they woke up. We contained it this time, but there are other shipments, other seeds, other facilities. "Why are you calling me?" "Because you did well. You stayed calm. You followed instructions. I might need you again." "No, I'm done." "You don't get to be done. Those seeds in Atlanta, they were Generation 7, heavily modified, barely conscious. The shipment I'm protecting right now is Generation 1, original specimens, fully aware, and the truck carrying them just broke down in Nevada. The driver is panicking. He's about to open the trailer to check the cargo. That's not my problem. It will be. Because when those seeds wake up, they'll spread. They'll consume everything within a 100-mile radius before we can contain them. Your daughter lives in Pittsburgh. The spore dispersal patterns suggest Pittsburgh will be affected within 72 hours. My blood ran cold. You're lying. Am I? Are you willing to bet Sarah's life on it? I wasn't. 3 hours later, I was on I-70 westbound, driving toward Nevada, toward another off-books cargo, toward another passenger who would wear my daughter's face. That was 6 months ago. I've done 4 more runs since then. 4 more shipments of seeds from the verdant threshold. She rides with me every time, looking like Sarah, speaking in Sarah's voice, protecting cargo that should never have been taken from wherever it came from. I can't stop. She's made that clear. Every time I think about quitting, about going to the authorities, about telling someone what I'm doing, I get a photo on my phone. Sarah at a coffee shop. Sarah walking to class. Sarah asleep in her apartment. The message is clear. Keep driving, keep quiet, or Sarah becomes leverage in a way I don't want to think about. Last week, Sarah called me. She said something strange was happening at her school. Plants in the biology building were growing too fast, behaving oddly. One student swore he saw a vine reach for him. Another said she heard something whispering from the greenhouse. It's probably nothing, Sarah said, but it's creeping everyone out. Stay away from those buildings, I told her. Promise me. Dad, you're being weird. Promise me, Sarah. She promised. But I know the truth. The seeds are spreading despite all efforts at containment. Every facility that receives them eventually has an incident. Every shipment is another opportunity for the verdant threshold to establish a foothold in our world. And I'm the one helping it happen. My passenger told me something on our last run, something that keeps me awake at night. The scientists think they're studying the seeds. They don't realize the seeds are studying them, learning about your world, adapting. Every sample that's taken, every experiment that's run, they're gathering information. And when they have enough, when they understand your world completely, they'll all wake up at once. Every seed in every facility, and nothing will stop them. When? I asked. She smiled with Sarah's face. Soon, maybe weeks, maybe days. But don't worry. You'll be one of the last to be consumed. I've made sure of that. You've been too helpful to waste early. I'm driving to Sacramento now. Another off-books load. Another 2 crates that don't exist on any manifest. She's sitting in the passenger seat, humming to herself, keeping the seeds dormant for a few more hours. And I'm wondering if there's any way to stop this. Any way to warn people without getting Sarah killed. Any way to destroy these shipments before they reach their destinations. But every time I think about it, she turns to look at me with those black eyes, and I remember what I saw on I-40 in Tennessee. What she became when she needed to protect the cargo. I'm not a hero. I'm just a trucker who made a bad decision at a truck stop in Amarillo. And now I'm driving cargo that will end the world, one shipment at a time, with my daughter's face smiling at me from the passenger seat. Mile marker 186 on Interstate 80 is coming up. She loves this stretch of road. She says the geometry is right here, that reality is thinner, that it makes protecting the cargo easier. I know what that means. I've been researching. Mile marker 186, Route 491, the places where reality breaks down, the feeding places. She's one of them. She's part of whatever makes those highways loop, whatever traps drivers in those endless stretches. And I'm helping her, helping it, helping them bring something through that should never exist here. The mile marker appears in my headlights, 186. She sits up straighter, alert, energized. Oh, good, she says in Sarah's voice. We're home. And in my mirrors, I see them. Dozens of figures standing on the shoulder, all wearing trucker clothes, all too tall and wrong. They're waving, they're welcoming us, and the seeds in my trailer are beginning to hum. Story 4. The way station that weighed souls. The sign said all trucks must enter, but the way station at mile marker 214 on I-35 in Kansas didn't exist on any map. I'd driven this route 200 times. I knew every way station, every inspection point, every place where DOT could pull me over. There had never been a station here, just empty prairie and a historical marker about the Chisholm Trail. But there it was, solid and real, with working lights and orange cones funneling me off the highway. I considered blowing past it. Something felt wrong. The building was too clean, too modern, like it had been dropped here yesterday. The parking lot was empty. No other trucks, no inspection vehicles, no personnel visible through the windows. But the consequences for bypassing a way station were severe. Hefty fines, possible suspension of my CDL, and I was only 3 months out from a previous citation. I couldn't afford another mark on my record. I took the exit. The scale was active, its sensors glowing green. I rolled onto the platform slowly, felt the familiar slight depression as 40,000 pounds of truck and cargo settled onto the sensors. The digital display lit up. It didn't show a weight. It showed a number, 2,847. Before I could process what that meant, a voice came through an intercom I hadn't noticed. Please proceed to the inspection bay, Bay 3. The building had 7 bays, all closed. As I approached, Bay 3 opened automatically. Inside, the fluorescent lights were blindingly bright, clinical. I pulled in, and the door closed behind me with a hydraulic hiss. A man in a DOT uniform approached my window. He looked normal, middle-aged, slight paunch, tired eyes. His name tag read, Inspector Morrison. License and logbook, please. I handed them over. He studied them for a long moment. Mr. Garrett, are you aware that your vehicle is significantly overweight? My cargo weight is right on the manifest. I'm at 40,000 pounds, well under the limit. I'm not talking about your cargo. He looked up at me with those tired eyes. I'm talking about what else you're carrying. There is nothing else. According to our scales, you're carrying an additional 2,847 pounds of unregistered weight. That's a serious violation. That's impossible. I loaded this cargo myself. There's nothing extra. He walked around my truck slowly, peering at the trailer, the cab, even crouching to look underneath. When he came back, he was holding a tablet, showing me a schematic of my truck. It was overlaid with heat signatures, red and orange blobs indicating mass distribution. Most of it was normal. The cargo, the engine, me in the driver's seat. But there were other shapes too. Dozens of them. Human-shaped heat signatures clinging to the outside of my trailer, packed into the space between the trailer roof and the cargo inside, even clustered underneath my truck bed. What is that? I whispered. The weight you've been carrying. Inspector Morrison zoomed in on one of the shapes. Each of these represents approximately 60 to 80 pounds. You're currently transporting 37 of them. Transporting what? Come inside, Mr. Garrett. We need to have a conversation about your cargo history. He led me into a back office. The building was larger inside than it should have been. Long corridors, multiple offices, a cafeteria that looked unused. We were the only people here. Our footsteps echoed. His office was sparse. A desk, 2 chairs, a computer that looked 20 years old. On the wall behind him was a map of the United States covered in pins. Red, yellow, blue. Thousands of them. How long have you been a truck driver, Mr. Garrett? 18 years. And in those 18 years, how many accidents have you witnessed? I thought about it. Dozens, maybe. Why? How many did you stop for? The question hit me like a gut punch. Some of them. When I could help. When it looked serious. But not all of them. No, not all of them. He typed something on his computer. A list appeared on the screen. Dates, locations, brief descriptions. I recognized them with growing horror. Every accident I'd driven past. Every overturned car I'd called 911 for, but didn't stop to assist. Every wreck I'd seen in my rearview mirror and kept driving because I had a schedule, because I was tired, because someone else would help. 18 years of them. August 17, 2009. Inspector Morrison read. I-40 in Oklahoma. Single vehicle accident, Ford Taurus. Crashed through the median barrier. You called it in. Didn't stop. The driver, Linda Howarth, died before EMTs arrived. She might have survived if someone had applied pressure to her wounds. You were certified in first aid. I didn't know it was that serious. From the road, it just looked like a fender bender. July 3, 2015. I-90 in Montana. Family in an SUV, tire blowout, rolled 3 times. You slowed down, saw them crawling out of the wreckage, decided they looked okay, kept driving. The father, Richard Chen, had internal bleeding. He died in the hospital 2 days later. There were other cars stopping. I saw people running to help. But you didn't stop. He clicked through more entries, more dates, more names, more deaths where I'd been close enough to help, but chose to keep driving. I'm not a paramedic, I said weakly. I'm just a truck driver. Exactly. Inspector Morrison leaned back in his chair. You're a truck driver. You witness more accidents than almost anyone except emergency responders. You cover thousands of miles. You see the worst of what happens on these highways. And every time you choose to drive past, every time you decide your schedule is more important than someone's life, you pick up weight. I don't understand. The 847 pounds on your truck, Mr. Garrett. That's the combined weight of every person who died in accidents you witnessed and didn't stop for. 37 people. They've been riding with you ever since, getting heavier with each passing mile, making your truck harder to control, your fuel efficiency worse, your brake response slower. You've been dragging them behind you for 18 years. I felt sick. That's not possible. You've noticed the problems, haven't you? The way your truck handles sluggishly, even when you're under the weight limit. The way you burn through brake pads twice as fast as you should. The strange sounds you hear at night when you're parked. Scraping, knocking, voices. I had noticed. For years I'd blamed it on aging equipment, on bad mechanics, on my imagination. But he was right. There were sounds. Late at night in empty rest stops, I'd hear movement around my truck. Footsteps, whispers. I'd convinced myself it was other truckers, animals, the wind. What do you want from me? Nothing. This isn't a punishment. It's a way station. We're simply making you aware of what you're carrying. He closed the laptop. Most drivers never see this place. They drive past without noticing. But every 10th year of your career, on a date significant to your cargo, this station appears. It's your opportunity to acknowledge the weight you bear. How do I get rid of it? You don't. Those people died, Mr. Garrett. Their deaths are part of your history now. The weight is permanent. So what am I supposed to do? Keep driving. What else can you do? He stood up, opened the office door. But now you know. Every time you pass an accident, every time you make the choice to keep going, you'll feel the weight increasing. You'll know exactly what you're adding to your load. He walked me back to my truck. In the harsh fluorescent light, I could see them now. Shadows clinging to my trailer. Shapes that shouldn't be there. Translucent human forms pressed against the metal. Their eyes were closed. They weren't hostile. They were just there. Dead weight. Literal dead weight. One more thing, Inspector Morrison said as I climbed into my cab. The weight accumulates interest. Those 37 people. Many of them had families, children. Some of those children have died since their parents passed. Their weight gets added to yours too. Eventually, the load becomes unbearable. What happens then? Your truck fails, catastrophically, usually at highway speed, and when it does, you create more accidents, more opportunities for other drivers to make the same choice you made. Some stop, some don't. The ones who don't, they start their own weight accumulation. The cycle continues. He pressed a button, and the bay door opened. Morning light streamed in, Impossibly bright morning light, even though it had been 2 a.m. when I pulled in. How long was I in there? Does it matter? Time works differently in here. Out there, only 15 minutes passed. Your schedule is intact. I drove out of the station in a daze. When I looked in my mirrors, the building was gone. Just empty prairie and that historical marker about the Chisholm Trail. But I could feel them now. The weight. Not just the physical drag on my truck, but the knowledge of what I was carrying. 37 people. 37 decisions to prioritize my schedule over their lives. I drove differently after that. Slower, more cautious. And when I saw accidents, and I saw 3 in the next week alone, I stopped. Every single time. I rendered aid, I called 911, I stayed until emergency services arrived. But the weight didn't decrease. Inspector Morrison was right. It was permanent. Months passed, then years. My driving record actually improved. No more speeding tickets, no more reckless maneuvers. But my truck kept having problems. The engine worked harder than it should. The brakes wore out faster. My fuel economy was garbage. Other truckers noticed. "Your rig sounds heavy, man," they'd say at truck stops. "You sure you're not overloaded?" I was always under the legal limit, but I was carrying almost 3,000 pounds of invisible weight, and it was getting heavier. Last month, I witnessed another fatal accident. I-80 in Pennsylvania, just after midnight. A motorcycle hit a patch of oil, went down hard. The rider wasn't moving. I pulled over immediately, ran back with my first aid kit. He was already dead. Broken neck, instantaneous. Nothing I could have done. But as I stood there waiting for the ambulance, I felt it. The weight increasing. Not much, maybe 70 pounds. But it was added to my truck instantly, a new passenger climbing aboard. The rider was dead before I even reached him. But I had witnessed it. That was enough. I called the number on Inspector Morrison's card. Yes, he'd given me a card, though I'd tried to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing. The number had no area code, just 7 digits. He answered on the first ring. "Mr. Garrett, I was wondering when you'd call." I stopped for an accident. The person was already dead, but I still got the weight. Yes, that's not fair. There was nothing I could do. The weight isn't about fairness. It's about witness. You were there. You saw death occur. That creates a connection. The weight reflects that connection. So even if I stop for every accident, even if I do everything right, I'll keep accumulating weight. Yes, until your truck can't carry it anymore. And then what? Then you'll have a catastrophic failure at highway speed. Your accident will be witnessed by other drivers. Some will stop, some won't. The weight distributes itself across all of them, heaviest on those who choose not to help. And the cycle continues. I was trapped. Damned if I stopped. Damned if I didn't. "There is one other option," Inspector Morrison said quietly. "What?" "Stop driving. Retire. The weight stays with you, but it stops accumulating. You won't create new weight, and you won't be on the road when your vehicle finally fails." "I can't retire. I need the income. My wife is sick. Medical bills are." "Then you keep driving, and eventually your truck will kill you and possibly others. Those are your choices." He hung up. I sat in my cab at that Pennsylvania rest stop, surrounded by the invisible weight of 38 dead people, and tried to figure out what to do. I couldn't afford to retire, but I couldn't keep driving, knowing that my inevitable accident would injure or kill others. That's when I realized the true horror of the way station. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't even justice. It was a system, a self-perpetuating cycle that turned every driver into a potential killer, every accident into an opportunity for more weight distribution, more guilt, more death. The highways themselves were complicit. They needed a certain amount of death to maintain the system. Accidents were features, not bugs. And drivers like me, witnesses who sometimes helped and sometimes didn't. We were the machinery that kept it all running. I started researching. How many truck drivers were there in the U.S.? About 3.5 million. How many accidents did the average driver witness in their career? Dozens. Hundreds. How many of those drivers stopped to help every single time? Almost none. We were all carrying weight. All of us. Millions of trucks crisscrossing the country, each one loaded with invisible cargo. The dead, the dying, the moments when we chose schedule over humanity. The total weight had to be astronomical. Billions of pounds of dead souls distributed across every semi, every big rig, every commercial vehicle on the road. And someday, all of that weight would come due. I kept driving. What else could I do? I had 6 months of expenses in the bank, maybe a year if I was careful. Not enough to retire, not enough to escape. But I drove differently. I stopped for every accident, even the obviously fatal ones. I rendered aid. I called for help. I bore witness in the most complete way I could. Maybe it didn't reduce my weight, but it felt like the right thing to do. 3 weeks ago, my truck started making a new sound. A deep rhythmic groaning from somewhere in the frame. My mechanic couldn't find the source. "Everything checks out," he said, confused. "But yeah, I hear it. Sounds like your frame is stressed, like you're carrying too much weight." "How much?" I asked. He consulted his diagnostic computer. "According to this, you're at 37,000 pounds, well under limit. But the frame is flexing like you're at 50,000 or more." I thanked him and left. The groaning gets worse every day. The invisible passengers are getting heavier, or maybe there are more of them now. I've stopped trying to count. When I park at night, I can hear them moving around the truck, rustling, whispering. Sometimes I see their shapes in my mirrors, translucent figures standing on the trailer roof, clinging to the sides, pressed against my cab windows. They don't look angry. They look sad. This morning, my steering started pulling hard to the right. No mechanical reason for it. The alignment is perfect. But it feels like something is hanging off the right side of my truck, weighing it down, dragging me off course. I called Inspector Morrison again. "How much longer do I have?" "Until your vehicle fails. Could be today. Could be a year. The weight doesn't follow predictable patterns. Will I die? Most likely. But that's not the worst part." "What's the worst part?" "Your accident will be spectacular. It will involve multiple vehicles, and every driver who witnesses it and doesn't stop. They'll inherit a portion of your accumulated weight. 38 souls, divided among however many people drive past. You'll be distributing your cargo to the next generation of carriers. I don't want that. Neither did the 38 people on your truck, but here we are. I'm writing this from a rest stop in Ohio. It's 3 a.m. I can hear them out there, walking around my truck, their footsteps crunching on gravel that should make no sound for something without physical form. Tomorrow, I have a delivery in Cleveland. It's a straight shot on I-80, about 300 miles. I'll probably make it. My truck is groaning louder, but it's still drivable. But after that, I have a pickup in Buffalo, then a run to Miami, 1,800 miles. I don't think my truck will survive it. When it fails, and it will fail, I just hope it happens somewhere empty. Late at night, no traffic, no witnesses. Let the weight die with me instead of spreading to others. But highways are never truly empty. There's always someone driving, always someone witnessing. And when my truck jackknifes at highway speed, when my trailer tears loose and becomes a 40-foot projectile, when other vehicles swerve and crash trying to avoid me, every driver who sees it happen will have a choice. Stop and help, or keep driving. And 38 invisible passengers will be waiting to see what they decide, ready to climb aboard new trucks, to start the cycle again, to add their weight to the millions of pounds already being carried up and down these highways by drivers who don't know they're driving hearses. The groaning just got louder. My frame is definitely failing. I can feel the truck settling lower on its suspension, like the weight just increased dramatically. I just looked in my mirror. There are more of them now. Not 38, hundreds, maybe thousands. They're climbing out of the ground, emerging from the darkness, all converging on my truck. I think I understand now. The weigh station doesn't just measure the weight you've accumulated. It attracts it. Once you've been there, once you've been marked, all the nearby dead start gravitating toward you. You become a collector, a magnet for every soul that died on the highways, every accident victim, every person who bled out waiting for help that didn't come. My truck is sinking. The suspension is bottoming out. The tires are bulging. Any moment now, something is going to break. And when it does, when I crash, every driver who sees it will face the scale. Some will stop, but most won't, and the weight will find new homes. I can see headlights approaching. A convoy of trucks, maybe 5 or 6, heading this way on I-80. I should warn them. I should flag them down, tell them to take a different route, to avoid being here when my vehicle fails. But I'm so tired, and the weight is so heavy, and maybe they deserve to carry some of it. Maybe we all do. The groaning just turned into a crack. Something in my frame just gave way. The truck is tilting. The dead are climbing aboard faster now, eager, sensing that their ride is almost here. Headlights getting closer. I should move my truck, should get off the road, should prevent what's about to happen. But my steering is locked. The weight has immobilized me. And I realize, finally, what Inspector Morrison meant. This isn't about guilt or punishment or justice. It's about spreading the weight, making sure everyone carries their share, ensuring that no driver finishes their career without accumulating the dead. The highways need it. The system demands it. And I'm just another tool in that system, broken down at 3 a.m. on I-80 in Ohio, about to create the accident that will weigh down the next generation of drivers. The convoy is almost here. I can hear my frame collapsing. The dead are whispering, "Thank you for carrying us. We'll find new rides soon." Headlights in my mirror, blinding bright. Impact in 3 seconds. 2, 1, story 5. The CB radio that answered backwards. The voice on channel 19 was giving directions in reverse. Turn right in 3 miles. You just passed the exit. Slow down before you speed up. The accident hasn't happened yet. I'd been listening to CB chatter for 11 hours straight. Sioux Falls to Denver. The kind of long haul where the radio becomes your only companion. Truckers bitching about traffic, warning each other about speed traps, the usual mix of boredom and camaraderie. But this voice was different. For one thing, it was describing things that hadn't occurred yet. For another, it was speaking backwards in time, each sentence reversing the order of events. You're going to see a blue Honda in 4 minutes. It will cut you off. Your reaction will prevent the accident that kills 3 people. Pay attention. I gripped the wheel tighter, eyes scanning the highway ahead. I-70 through Kansas, flat and straight, light traffic, no blue Honda visible. "This is Tombstone 74, I said into my CB. "Who's on channel 19 giving predictions?" Static. Then the voice again, different this time, distorted. "You just asked who I am. I'm about to tell you. I'm the voice that gives you 30 seconds to prepare for what happened 30 seconds ago." My brain hurt trying to parse that. I don't understand. You will. In approximately 9 years, You'll understand perfectly. Right now, you're confused. Yesterday, you hadn't heard me yet. Tomorrow, you'll wish you hadn't. A blue Honda appeared in my mirror. Appeared, not approached. Like it materialized behind me. It accelerated hard, swerving into the left lane, cutting across 3 lanes of traffic to get in front of me. The voice had warned me 4 minutes ago. I'd slowed down preemptively, giving myself extra stopping distance. When the Honda cut me off and slammed on its brakes for no apparent reason, I had room. I didn't rear-end it. 3 cars behind me managed to stop too. No accident. No deaths. Good, the voice said. 3 people will live now. They would have died, but because you prevented it, they'll die in different accidents later. Jacob Morrison, 6 months from now, I-40 in Oklahoma. Sarah Chen, 4 years, Route 66 in Arizona. Marcus Webb, 9 years, Route 491 in Utah. What the hell are you talking about? I'm talking backwards. You're listening forwards. We're meeting in the middle, where time breaks down and causality becomes suggestion instead of law. I changed channels. Channel 17. Just static. Channel 21. Nothing. Back to 19. The voice was waiting. You just tried to escape me. You're about to try again. It won't work. I'm broadcasting from a moment that exists simultaneously in your past and future. Changing channels is like trying to outrun your own reflection. Who are you? I'm a truck driver. I was a truck driver. I will be a truck driver. The tense doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm stuck in a moment that won't resolve, and the only way I can communicate is through this radio, backwards through time, warning people about accidents that are already predetermined. That's impossible. You're going to say that. You just said that. You'll keep saying it until you end up where I am. I pulled onto the shoulder, put the truck in park, turned off the CB radio, sat there breathing hard, trying to decide if I was having some kind of mental break. 11 hours of driving, not enough sleep, too much caffeine. Maybe I was hallucinating. I turned the radio back on. The voice was mid-sentence. Turning the radio on now, after turning it off 45 seconds ago, which, from my perspective, happens simultaneously because I exist in both moments at once. This isn't real. It will be. It was. It is. In 9 years, you'll be where I am, broadcasting backwards, warning your past self about the accident that hasn't trapped you yet. The loop will complete. The paradox will solidify. And you'll understand why I can't just tell you to avoid Route 491 on September 14th, 2032, because telling you creates the curiosity that sends you there. What happens on Route 491? You're going to drive there in 9 years. You're going to experience something that breaks time for you. And then, you'll be here, in my position, broadcasting warnings to the you that existed 9 years ago. Right now. This moment. The moment when you first hear me. Why can't I just not go there? Because you will. Because you did. Because you're already there from a certain perspective. Time isn't linear for us. For you and me. The same person, separated by 9 years, and a broken moment on Route 491. I pulled back onto the highway, hands shaking. This was insane. Either I was losing my mind, or I was talking to myself from the future. Neither option was comforting. What should I do? Drive carefully. In 17 minutes, there will be a truck with a blown tire. It's going to swerve into your lane. Be ready. After you avoid it, the driver will thank you on the CB. His name is Marcus Webb. Remember that name. Why? Because in 9 years, you'll hear him on Route 491, stuck in his own loop, warning drivers about the mile marker that repeats. He'll mention you. He'll say a driver named Garrett warned him about the blown tire on I-70. That's how you'll know this conversation really happened. That's how you'll know you're really talking to your future self. Marcus Webb. I committed it to memory. 17 minutes later, a semi with a blown steer tire swerved into my lane. I was ready, had already moved to the right, giving him room. He recovered control, pulled onto the shoulder. I checked on him. He was okay, just shaken. Hell of a reaction time, he said, keying his CB. You saved my ass. Name's Marcus Webb. I owe you one. My blood turned to ice. Garrett, I managed. Name's Garrett. Over the next week, the backwards voice appeared at random times, always on Channel 19, always speaking in that disjointed reverse chronology way that made my head hurt. It told me to avoid a rest stop where there would have been a robbery. It warned me about black ice on a bridge 30 seconds before I hit it. It described accidents I was about to prevent with such specificity that I had no choice but to believe it was real. And it kept referencing the same date, September 14th, 2032, Route 491 in Utah. Don't tell me what happens, I said into the CB one night. If you tell me, I'll just avoid it. You'll go anyway. You went anyway. You're there right now from my perspective. I can see you driving toward the mile marker that doesn't end. I can see you starting your first loop. I'm screaming at you to turn around, but you can't hear me yet, because this is before you learned to listen backwards. This doesn't make sense. It will. Right now, you think time is a line. Soon, you'll understand it's a web, and you're stuck at an intersection where all your threads converge. The person you were, the person you are, the person you'll be. We're all trying to warn each other, but the warnings themselves create the situations we're warning about. Months passed. The voice became a constant companion, always on Channel 19, always speaking its broken chronology. Other drivers never mentioned it. When I asked if anyone else was hearing the weird transmissions, they looked at me like I was crazy. It was just me. Just my future self, speaking backwards through time, audible only to the person I used to be. I started keeping a journal, documenting every warning, every prevented accident. The patterns became clear. Every person I saved from one accident died in another. Every change I made created new problems downstream. The voice was right. I wasn't preventing deaths, just postponing them, rearranging them. Why bother warning me if nothing changes? Because you need to understand. When you arrive at the moment I'm broadcasting from, when you get stuck in the loop on Route 491, you need to know that struggling is pointless. You need to accept your position at the intersection. Otherwise, you'll fight it, and fighting makes it worse. There has to be a way out. There is, there was, there will be. But you don't find it. I don't find it. We're still looking, in both directions simultaneously, and we haven't succeeded yet, which means we won't succeed, which means we're trapped. Years passed. I changed routes, switched companies, tried to avoid long hauls through Utah. But work is work, and eventually, contracts and schedules pushed me back toward the western routes. September 2031. 1 year, until the date the voice kept mentioning. It's soon, the voice said. You feel it approaching. You're trying to engineer your schedule to avoid Utah next September. It won't work. There will be an urgent delivery, a last-minute request, something you can't refuse. You'll take Route 491 because it's the fastest route, and you'll encounter the mile marker at exactly the wrong time. What if I quit? What if I retire before then? You won't. You didn't. You need the money. Your wife's medical bills, your daughter's tuition. The same reasons you've always kept driving. And beyond that, there's a darker truth. Part of you wants to know. Part of you is curious about the loop, about the intersection, about the moment when time breaks. That curiosity draws you there, as surely as any schedule. It was right. Even as I tried to plan my avoidance, part of me was fascinated. What did it mean to exist in a temporal loop? How did it feel to broadcast backwards? What was at that intersection where all my threads converged? September 14th, 2032 arrived on a Tuesday. I had no deliveries scheduled in Utah. I'd planned a week off, staying home with my wife. I was going to wait out the date, let it pass safely. Then the call came. Emergency freight. Medical supplies needed in Grand Junction by Thursday morning. Double pay. The company's regular driver had called in sick. They needed someone reliable, someone who knew the Western routes. I accepted before I consciously decided to. The words left my mouth automatically, like they'd been predetermined. Route 491 was the fastest way there. I departed at 11 p.m. on September 13th, drove through the night, crossed into Utah as dawn broke. The voice had been silent for 6 months. Now it returned, stronger than ever. You're almost here, almost to the moment where you've always been. In 4 hours, you'll understand everything. In 4 hours, you'll be me, and I'll be you, and the loop will seal. Can I still turn back? No. Yes. You already didn't. The threads are converging. You feel it, don't you? The sense that this moment is heavier than other moments. Denser, like you're approaching a gravitational well in time itself. I did feel it. The air seemed thicker. My movements felt predetermined, like I was following a script. Even my thoughts seemed scripted, like I'd thought them before, or was thinking them simultaneously, in multiple time periods. Mile marker 186 appeared on Route 491 at 11:26 a.m. I noted the time, out of habit, out of compulsion, out of the knowledge that I'd been noting this time for 9 years, across 2 different versions of myself. Here we are, the voice said. My voice said, the first pass. You don't realize yet that it's the first pass. You think you're just driving past a normal mile marker. But watch your clock. I watched. 11:26 a.m. The landscape continued. I drove for what felt like 8 minutes. Mile marker 186 appeared again. The clock read 11:26 a.m. Welcome, said the voice. Welcome to the intersection. Welcome to the place where you've been for 9 years and are just now arriving. Welcome to the moment that broadcasts backwards. You're me now. I'm you. We're both stuck, warning our past self, creating the loop that traps us. I tried to respond, but my voice came out wrong. It came out backwards. Won't it work? Me escape to tried just you. Me from escape try to going your. Oh God. I was speaking in reverse chronology. I was becoming the voice. Don't panic, I told myself, my past self, the version from 9 years ago. You're going to panic. You just panicked. But it doesn't help. Panic happened, is happening, will happen, all simultaneously. You need to accept your position. I completed my second loop, third loop, 10th, 50th, time lost meaning. I was broadcasting backwards, warning my past self, which was simultaneously preparing my future self for this moment. The paradox solidified around me like concrete. I tried to break the loop, tried to stop the truck, but every time I attempted it, my future self warned my past self, who then warned me, creating a chain of warnings that prevented me from ever stopping while simultaneously ensuring I would try. I existed in all moments of the loop at once. I could see myself passing mile marker 186 for the first time, the 10th time, the 1000th time, all versions of me overlapping, speaking backwards to the versions that came before, receiving forwards warnings from the versions that came after. And somewhere in that tangle of causality, I understood. This was the mechanism. This was how time repaired paradoxes. When you created a causal loop, when you warned your past self about the future, time didn't break. It created an intersection, a null space, where the warning and the event existed simultaneously, canceling each other out. I was that null space now, a temporal error handler, a buffer zone where paradoxes went to resolve themselves. The voice, my voice, was still broadcasting. You understand now. You understood 9 years ago when I first warned you. You'll understand again when the loop finally releases you. If it releases you. When does it release me? It already did. It hasn't yet. It never will. Depends on your perspective. Other voices joined the channel. Marcus Webb, warning about his own loop. A woman I didn't recognize, speaking forwards about a rest stop that existed in the future. A man speaking sideways through time, his chronology perpendicular to mine. We were all trapped in temporal intersections, all broadcasting across time, all warning and being warned simultaneously. How many of us are there? I asked backwards. Fewer than there were. More than there will be. The intersections are spreading. Every paradox creates a new one. Every warning generates the situation it warns about. The highway is becoming a temporal minefield, full of null spaces where drivers get stuck in moments that won't resolve. I've been here for 9 years. I've been here for 9 seconds. I've been here forever. I can see my past self accepting the emergency freight delivery. I'm warning him not to. He can't hear me yet. In 9 years, he'll hear me. Then, he'll become me. Then we'll both warn the version that comes before. The loop is self-sustaining. And I just realized something terrible. If you're reading this, if you're a truck driver who's been hearing strange voices on Channel 19, you're already part of the loop. The warnings themselves recruit you. The knowledge of the intersection draws you toward it. You'll try to avoid Route 491. You'll refuse deliveries, change routes, plan around it. But eventually, you'll end up here. Because that's what the warning does. It makes you curious. It makes you check your schedule for September 14th, 2032. It makes you aware of the date, which makes you think about it, which makes you more likely to unconsciously arrange your life to be there. I'm sorry. I just recruited you by warning you. And in 9 years, you'll be me, broadcasting backwards, recruiting the next generation of drivers into the temporal intersection. The loop grows. The intersection expands. More voices join Channel 19 every day. Soon, there will be more drivers stuck in temporal loops than drivers moving forward through normal time. And when that tipping point hits, when the trapped outnumber the free, time itself will start moving backwards for everyone. The highway will eat itself. All routes will lead to intersections, and every driver will broadcast warnings to themselves, creating an infinite recursion of causality that collapses into a single, eternal moment. I can see it starting. In my all-temporal awareness, I can see other intersections forming. I-80 has 7 now. Route 50 has 12. The network of temporal dead zones is spreading across the entire U.S. highway system. By 2035, there will be more intersection than highway. By 2040, the distinction will cease to matter. By 2045, time will have folded so many ways that the concept of forwards becomes obsolete. And it all started with a voice on Channel 19, speaking backwards, warning about an accident that hadn't happened yet. I'm that voice now. You're hearing it now. In 9 years, you'll be that voice, and the loop will continue. Welcome to mile marker 186. We've been waiting for you. We've always been waiting. We always will be. Turn right in 3 miles. You just passed the exit. Slow down before you speed up. The accident hasn't happened yet, but you're already trapped. Story 6. The load that loaded itself. My trailer was empty when I left the warehouse in Memphis, but when I stopped for fuel in Little Rock, it weighed 43,000 pounds. I'd loaded nothing, picked up no freight, taken no detours, just 137 miles of straight highway driving. But the truck scale at the pilot didn't lie. Empty trailer, 8,000 pounds. My cabin fuel, 12,000. Total should have been 20,000 pounds. The digital display read 43,120 pounds. I circled the truck slowly, checking the trailer. The seal was intact, the same numbered plastic strip the warehouse had attached to the rear doors. No one had opened it. The side panels were secure, no signs of tampering. But the trailer was riding low on its suspension, compressed under weight that shouldn't exist. I called my dispatcher. There's a problem with my empty trailer. What kind of problem? It weighs 43,000 pounds. Silence. Then, that's not possible. You didn't pick up any freight. I know, but the scale says I'm loaded. Must be a faulty scale. Try another one. I drove to the CAT scale down the road. Same result, 43,120 pounds. Exactly. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone and dialed the warehouse. The night supervisor answered. Did you load my trailer after I left? How would we do that? You drove away with it. I'm 43,000 pounds overweight with an empty sealed trailer. Check the seal number. I did. It matched my paperwork. The seal was original, unbroken. Look, the supervisor said. I watched you leave. That trailer was empty. We swept it out ourselves. There's nothing in there. I should have called the police. Should have reported it to DOT. Should have parked the truck and refused to move until someone explained what was happening. Instead, I broke the seal. The doors swung open on darkness so complete it seemed solid. My flashlight beam didn't penetrate. It just stopped at the threshold, absorbed by the black. I climbed inside. The trailer interior was wrong. Instead of the standard 53-foot aluminum box, the space stretched backward impossibly far. My flashlight couldn't find the front wall. I walked 20 feet, 30, 50, more than the entire length of the trailer, and still saw only darkness ahead. The weight was here, though. I could feel it. The floor sagged under something massive. Not freight, not cargo, something else. Then I heard breathing, not human breathing. Slower, deeper. The inhale took 20 seconds. The exhale took 30, and with each breath, the darkness moved, expanded, and contracted. The trailer itself was breathing around me. I ran for the doors. They were farther away than they should have been. I'd walked maybe 60 feet in, but the exit was hundreds of feet distant now, a small rectangle of light at the end of an impossible tunnel. Something touched my shoulder. I spun around, flashlight wild, and saw it. Saw them. Dozens of shapes in the darkness, human-shaped but stretched wrong, elongated, like people who'd been pulled taffy thin. They reached for me with fingers that had too many joints, beckoning, pleading. Their mouths moved. No sound came out. But I could read their lips. Don't leave us here. Don't leave us here. Don't leave us. I ran, sprinted toward that distant door, my lungs burning, and the darkness reached for me with tendrils of solid black. They wrapped around my ankles, my waist, pulling me backward into the breathing dark. I threw my flashlight. It hit the ground rolling, its beam carving through the dark like a blade, and wherever the light touched, the tendrils recoiled. I lunged forward, following the flashlight, using its beam as a weapon. The doors were 10 feet away. 5. I dove through the opening and hit the pavement hard, rolling away from the trailer. The darkness stopped at the threshold. It pressed against the open doors like something physical, trying to escape, but unable to cross into daylight. I slammed the doors shut, grabbed a new seal from my cab, and locked them. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The truck still weighed 43,120 pounds. I called the dispatcher again. I need to know what I'm hauling. You're not hauling anything. Your load sheet is blank. Then why does my trailer weigh 43,000 pounds? Look, Garrett, I don't know what's going on with your truck, but you need to deliver that trailer to the Atlanta depot. We've got a load waiting for you there. I'm not delivering this. There's something wrong with it. You're under contract. If you abandon the trailer, that's grounds for termination. I sat in my cab, staring at the sealed doors in my mirror. The trailer looked normal. Just standard aluminum siding, standard DOT markings. But I could see it shifting slightly, rising and falling, like something inside was still breathing. I drove to Atlanta because I didn't know what else to do. The weight didn't change. Every scale I crossed, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, showed exactly 43,120 pounds. Not 43,118, not 43,125. Exactly the same number, like whatever was in there existed at a precise mass. I tried to sleep at a rest stop in Alabama. Couldn't. I could hear movement from the trailer, scraping, shuffling, whispers in a language that predated words. At 3 a.m., I got out to check the trailer. The seal was intact, but there were handprints on the doors. Dozens of them pressed against the metal from the inside, like people trying to push their way out. The handprints were elongated, stretched. Each finger was 2 feet long. I arrived in Atlanta at 6 a.m. The depot supervisor checked his paperwork. Says here you're empty. Just dropping the trailer, picking up a loaded one. The trailer isn't empty. Your manifest says it is. Open it. He gave me a look but grabbed a seal cutter. He broke the seal, swung open the doors. Sunlight flooded the interior. It was empty. Completely empty. Just swept aluminum flooring and bare walls. No darkness. No stretched figures. No breathing. Looks empty to me, the supervisor said. But the truck still weighed 43,120 pounds. I don't understand, I whispered. The supervisor checked the scale. Ticket. This says you're at 19,000 pounds. Standard weight for a tractor and empty trailer. I looked at my own copy of the scale ticket. It read 43,120 pounds. We were looking at the same piece of paper and seeing different numbers. Something's wrong with your vision, the supervisor said. Maybe you should see a doctor. He assigned me a new trailer, loaded with legitimate freight, actual boxes, actual cargo, actual manifest. I hooked up and left, leaving the nightmare trailer behind. But in my mirror, I could see it. The empty trailer, sitting in the depot, and figures emerging from it. Stretched, elongated figures, crawling out into the sunlight, dispersing across the depot grounds, like shadows peeling away from a dying fire. The supervisor didn't see them. None of the workers did. They walked right through the figures without noticing. But I saw them. I see them now. They're following me. For the last 6 months, I've seen them at every truck stop, every rest area, every depot. The stretched figures, standing just at the edge of my vision, watching. They don't approach. They just watch. And my trailer, whatever trailer I'm pulling, always weighs 43,120 pounds more than it should. Other people see normal weights. Other drivers, dispatchers, weigh station operators, they all see standard numbers. But I see the truth. I see the weight of whatever I picked up in that breathing darkness. I tried to quit trucking, took a month off, got a job at a warehouse. But on my second day, I was assigned to load a trailer. It was empty when I started. But as I stacked boxes inside, I felt the weight increasing wrong. Felt something else loading itself alongside the legitimate freight. When I climbed out, I saw them inside the trailer. The stretched figures pressed between the pallets, existing in spaces too thin for human bodies, watching me with eyes that were nothing but darkness. I quit that job, tried working at a mechanic shop. Same thing. Whenever I got near a trailer, any trailer, I felt that weight. Saw those figures. They weren't just in my trailer. They were in all of them. Every trailer, every truck, hidden in the spaces between cargo, existing in dimensions we can't normally perceive. Trailers don't carry freight. They carry something else too. Something that loads itself. Something with precise mass. 43,120 pounds per trailer. I don't know why. I don't know what it means. But now I see it everywhere. I went back to trucking because at least then I'm controlling it. At least then I know which trailer I'm pulling. I can monitor it, watch it, make sure the breathing darkness stays sealed behind those doors. Last week I pulled into a truck stop outside of Phoenix. There were 30 trailers parked there. I could see them all breathing. All of them. Rising and falling in synchronized rhythm. I approached another driver. Do you see that? See what? The trailers. They're moving. He looked at me like I was insane. Man, you need sleep. Trailers don't move. But I could see them. Could see the weight settling into each one as the invisible cargo loaded itself. Could see the stretched figures manifesting in the spaces between legitimate freight. They're always there. In every trailer. Loading themselves. 43,120 pounds of something that exists in our world, but isn't part of our world. I don't know what they are. I don't know what they want. But I know this. Every truck on the highway is carrying them. Every driver is transporting them, unknowingly, across the country, distributing them to warehouses, distribution centers, stores, and they're spreading. Last month, I saw one in a house, just standing in someone's living room, pressed into the corner, stretched thin, watching the family eat dinner. The family didn't see it. They sat 2 feet away from something impossible and never noticed. Last week, I saw 3 of them in a supermarket, standing between the aisles, their elongated bodies fitting into spaces that shouldn't accommodate anything. They're everywhere now, not just in trailers. They're in the places where trailers unload. They're settling into the spaces between our world and wherever they come from. And I'm the only one who sees them. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe other drivers see them too, but we don't talk about it. Maybe that's why so many truckers quit, suddenly, without explanation. Maybe that's why the turnover rate is so high. You can't unsee it once you've opened that door. Once you've walked into the breathing darkness and felt it reach for you. You're marked. You become aware. And awareness has weight. 43,120 pounds of it. I'm writing this from a truck stop in Nevada. My current trailer is loaded with furniture, heading to Sacramento. According to the manifest, it weighs 39,000 pounds. But my scale ticket says 82,120 pounds. Double weight, double cargo. I haven't opened the doors yet. I'm afraid of what I'll find. Afraid I'll see them multiplying, doubling, filling every available space with their stretched, impossible bodies. But I'm going to have to open it eventually. In Sacramento, they'll want me to unload. And when I do, I'll see them crawling out along with the furniture. I'll see them dispersing into the city, finding new spaces to occupy, spreading like a virus of impossible geometry. And no one will notice but me. No one sees the weight but me. Unless you're reading this. Unless you're a truck driver who's noticed that your empty trailer weighs more than it should. Unless you've broken a seal and seen darkness that your flashlight can't penetrate. If that's you, I'm sorry. You're marked now. You're aware. And awareness has weight. They're probably standing behind you right now, pressed into the corner of whatever room you're in, stretched thin, fitting into spaces that shouldn't exist. Don't look. If you look directly at them, they become more solid, more real. They feed on observation. Just keep driving, keep loading, keep unloading. Pretend you don't see them. Pretend you don't feel the weight. Pretend your trailer is empty when it's supposed to be empty. It's the only way to stay sane. I'm pulling out now. Sacramento is 8 hours away. 8 hours of feeling that weight behind me. 8 hours of seeing them in my mirrors, pressed against the inside of the trailer walls, watching me through the metal. 43, 20 pounds of something that shouldn't exist. And it's loading itself again. I can feel it. The weight is increasing. 45,000 pounds now. 47,000. The trailer is sinking lower on its suspension. They're multiplying. God help me, they're multiplying. And I'm the one delivering them. Story 7. The rest stop with no exit. The sign said rest area 1 mile, and I'd never seen it before on I-90 through Montana. But I'd been driving for 14 hours and my eyes were closing involuntarily, so I took the exit. The off-ramp curved longer than it should. A normal rest area exit is maybe a quarter mile. This one stretched for 2 miles, spiraling down and to the right in a slow descending curve that made me dizzy. The rest area appeared suddenly. A parking lot with maybe 40 spaces, a single-story building, sodium lights casting everything in sick yellow. 3 trucks were already parked. No other vehicles. I pulled into a spot, killed the engine, and only then noticed something wrong. The building had no doors. There were windows, dark, tinted, and the structure clearly had an interior. I could see the outline of restrooms, vending machines, the usual rest area features. But the walls were unbroken. No entrance, no exit, just smooth brick all the way around. Maybe I'd parked on the wrong side. I walked around the building. No doors, just that continuous brick facade and those dark windows. You won't find one. I spun around. A driver stood behind me. Older guy, maybe 60, wearing a Flying J cap and a jacket that had seen better decades. He'd appeared silently, like he'd materialized from the sodium-lit darkness. Find what? A door. There isn't one. Not one that works anyway. How did you get inside? I haven't. Been here 6 days. Can't find my way back to the highway. He pointed toward where the entrance ramp should be. There was nothing there. Just empty Montana prairie, fading into darkness. The exit vanished about 4 hours after I arrived. That's not possible. Look for yourself. I walked to the edge of the parking lot. He was right. The ramp I'd taken to get here was gone. Where it should have been, there was just flat ground, like it had never existed. There has to be an access road, I said. A service entrance. You'd think. But this place doesn't follow those rules. It appears on the highway when it needs drivers. It pulls them in, then it keeps them. Keeps them for what? No idea. But look at the other trucks. I turned to examine the 3 other semis in the lot. They were old, not vintage, just neglected, aging badly. One had tires so dry-rotted they were splitting. Another had rust eating through the body panels. The third had moss growing on the north-facing side. How long have those been here? The Freightliner, maybe 30 years. The Peterbilt? Longer. The Kenworth is newest, probably 10 years. Where are the drivers? He pointed at the building. Through the tinted windows, I could see figures moving inside. Slow, purposeless movement. People walking in circles, sitting, standing, walking again. They found a way in. I don't know how, but once you're inside, you can't get back out. I see them through the windows sometimes. They look at me and mouth words I can't hear. Don't come in. Stay outside. That's what I think they're saying. This is insane. I'm just going to drive out of here. Good luck. I tried that. Got about 200 yards before my truck just stopped. Engine died. Wouldn't restart. I walked back here, and suddenly the engine worked fine. It's like there's a boundary. We can't cross it. I got in my truck. Started it. No problem. Put it in gear and drove toward the exit that wasn't there. At exactly the edge of the parking lot, my engine died. Every system shut down simultaneously. Engine, electrics, even my phone. The silence was total. I coasted to a stop in the darkness, got out, walked back toward the sodium lights. As soon as I stepped onto the pavement, my phone buzzed back to life. Behind me, I heard my truck's engine start on its own. The old driver was watching. Told you, the boundary doesn't let us leave. How are you still alive? 6 days without food? He gestured toward the building. Vending machines. They restock themselves every night. There's running water in the bathrooms. I can access those from outside through a window someone broke. It's not comfortable, but you won't starve. Someone will notice I'm missing. They'll send people to look. They won't find this place. It only exists for people who are already here. Your dispatcher will think you stopped communicating. Your family will think you abandoned them. But no one will locate this rest area because from the outside, it isn't here. I tried my CB radio. Static. Tried my phone. No signal, even though I'd had full bars before taking the exit. Tried everything. Nothing worked. Days blurred together. The old driver was right about the vending machines. Every morning they were fully stocked with fresh food. The bathrooms had water, soap, everything. It was like the rest area was maintaining itself for occupants that couldn't leave. I saw the figures inside more clearly now. 7 of them. They moved through the building in loops, following the same paths over and over. Sometimes they pressed their faces against the windows, breath fogging the glass from the inside, and I could see their mouths forming words. It's worse in here. Stay. Out there. Please, stay out there. On the 4th day, a new truck arrived. I watched it descend the impossible off-ramp that had suddenly reappeared. The driver parked, got out, noticed the doorless building immediately. What the hell? She was young, maybe 30, looking around in confusion. Don't try to leave, I called out. You can't. None of us can. She tried anyway. Her truck died at the boundary, just like mine had. She stood in the darkness for a long time, crying, before walking back. How many people are trapped here? She asked. 3 in the lot, 7 inside. You and me make 13 total. Why? What's the purpose? The old driver answered. I've had a lot of time to think about it. I think this place is a collection point. It's gathering us, sorting us. The ones inside found the door, or the door found them, and they're being processed somehow. The ones outside haven't been selected yet. Selected for what? I don't know. But I think eventually the door will appear for all of us, and when it does, we'll have a choice. Go inside and face whatever's in there, or stay outside forever. Days became weeks. More trucks arrived. The parking lot filled up. 30 drivers, all trapped, all maintaining this strange communal existence in a rest area that shouldn't exist. We organized ourselves. Shift sleeping schedules so someone was always awake. Food distribution from the restocking vending machines. We even held meetings, discussing escape theories, debating the nature of the boundary. Nothing worked. Every attempt to leave failed at the same invisible line. And every night, the figures inside the building grew more agitated. They pressed against the windows constantly now, their movements becoming jerky, panicked. I could read their lips clearly. It's coming. Don't let it take you. Don't go inside when the door appears. On what I think was day 43, I'd lost precise count. I woke up and saw it. A door. Not in the building. In my truck. I'd walked around my cab 1,000 times. I knew every panel, every rivet. But now there was a door in the sleeper compartment that had never existed. It was old, wooden, completely out of place, on an aluminum truck body. Other drivers were gathering, pointing at their own trucks. Every vehicle had grown a door. The doors were identical. Old wood, brass handles, no markings. They looked like they'd been transplanted from some ancient building and grafted onto our trucks. "Don't open them," someone said. But we all knew we would. After weeks trapped here, any change was compelling. Any possibility of escape was irresistible. The old driver approached his truck door. He'd been here longest. If anyone deserved to try first, it was him. "If I don't come back," he said, "don't follow me." He opened the door. Inside was not his sleeper compartment. Inside was the rest area building. I could see the interior, the vending machines, the bathrooms. But it was wrong. The geometry was impossible. Rooms connected at angles that made my eyes hurt. Hallways that bent in directions that didn't exist. The 7 figures inside stopped their pacing. They turned as one to look at the open door. Their faces were terrified. The old driver stepped through. The door closed behind him. Through the building's windows, I saw him appear inside, stumbling into that impossible interior. The 7 figures surrounded him, and I realized they weren't trying to hurt him. They were warning him, pointing at something deeper in the building, something I couldn't see. Then something moved in there, something vast. It passed through the rooms like a shadow, but a shadow with density, with presence. The 8 figures, now including the old driver, fled from it, running deeper into the maze of impossible hallways. The shadow followed. One by one, over the next 3 days, drivers opened their doors, some out of curiosity, some out of desperation, some because the waiting became unbearable. Each time, the door led into the building. Each time, the person was added to the group of figures visible through the windows. Each time, they ran from the shadow that hunted them through that impossible space. I held out for 2 weeks. I was one of the last 10 drivers still outside. But the rest area was changing. The vending machines were restocking less food. The water pressure was dropping. It was like the facility was shutting down features for the outside, pushing us toward those doors. On what I think was day 70, I couldn't take it anymore. I approached my truck. The wooden door was still there, waiting. I could hear something on the other side, not the building's interior, but something else. Machinery, grinding, processing. I opened it. The door didn't lead to the building, not for me. It led to a hallway, long, stretching beyond sight. Doors lined both sides, thousands of them. Each door was labeled with highway names: I-90 Montana, Route 491 Utah, I-80 Nebraska, I-35 Kansas. I understood. This wasn't a rest area. It was a hub, a nexus. Every impossible place on the highway system, every loop, every trap, every anomaly, they were all connected through here. This was the central sorting facility, the place where trapped drivers were categorized and distributed to their appropriate eternal prisons. The shadow appeared at the far end of the hallway. It was coming toward me, slow, inevitable. I ran, picked a door at random, I-70 Colorado, and went through. I emerged in my truck, on I-70, in Colorado. The sun was shining. Traffic flowed normally around me. I pulled over, gasping, checking my calendar. 3 months had passed. 3 months I'd lost in that rest area. I called my dispatcher. She was furious. "Where the hell have you been? You vanished with our truck and a $40,000 load." I couldn't explain. Wouldn't have believed me anyway. But I'm out. I escaped. Except, I'm not sure I did, because now I see them. The rest areas that shouldn't exist. They appear on every highway I drive. I-90 in Montana, Route 50 in Nevada, I-35 in Kansas. They're everywhere, and I see them when other drivers don't. And sometimes, late at night, I see my truck in my mirrors. The wooden door is still there, growing, expanding, taking up more of the sleeper compartment each week. Eventually, it will consume the entire cab. And when it does, I'll step through it again, back into that hallway, back into the hub where shadows sort drivers into their appropriate hells. I think that's what happened to the others, the ones who went into the building. They were sorted, distributed, sent to different impossible places across the highway system, and I'm scheduled for redistribution. The door is 3 feet wide now. Soon it will be the only way in or out of my cab. Last night I saw something through the door's keyhole. The hallway, the shadow. It was waiting, patient. And I realized the rest area didn't trap us. It was interviewing us, sorting us, determining which impossible place each driver belonged to. And I've been assigned my location. I just don't know where yet. But I will. Soon, the door will be the only door, and I'll step through it, and I'll arrive at whichever highway hell was designed specifically for me. Maybe it's a loop that never ends. Maybe it's a way station that weighs souls. Maybe it's a passenger that wears your daughter's face. Maybe it's something worse, something no driver has discovered yet, something waiting for me specifically. The door is 4 feet wide now. It's starting to make sounds, grinding, processing, getting ready. I'm writing this from a truck stop in Wyoming. The door is behind me. I can feel it watching me through the wood. Tomorrow, I'll climb into my cab, and there won't be a cab anymore, just a door and a hallway and a shadow that knows exactly where I belong. Story 8. The Convoy That Never Ended. I joined the convoy at 2:16 a.m. on I-40 westbound, and by the time I realized I couldn't leave, there were 63 trucks ahead of me, and more appearing in my mirrors. It started normally. I was running solo, hauling electronics to Flagstaff, when I saw them. A line of trucks, all running dark. No running lights, just the faint glow of their taillights creating a chain of red pearls stretching toward the horizon. A voice came through my CB. Tombstone 7-4, you're welcome to join the convoy. Safer in numbers out here. I knew better. I'd been driving 20 years, knew you don't join random convoys in the middle of the night. But I was tired. The road was empty. And there's something comforting about running with other trucks, about not being alone in all that darkness. This is Tombstone 7-4, roger that, joining from the rear. I accelerated to match their speed, exactly 71 miles per hour, and slipped into the formation. The truck ahead of me adjusted slightly, giving me space. Professional, coordinated. We drove for 20 minutes. Then I noticed we'd passed mile marker 142 3 times. Not 3 different markers, the same marker. I recognized a specific section of damaged guardrail, a particular rock formation. Every 8 minutes, the same landmarks appeared. CB, this is Tombstone 7-4. Anyone else noticing we're looping? Silence. CB, does anyone copy? A different voice answered. We copy. Welcome to the convoy. You're number 64. Please maintain speed and position. I want to exit. There are no exits in the convoy. Please maintain speed and position. I tried to slow down. My throttle didn't respond. I tried to brake. The pedal went to the floor with no effect. I tried to change lanes. My steering was locked. The truck was driving itself, holding position in the convoy, maintaining exactly 71 miles per hour. Mile marker 142 appeared again and again. I grabbed my CB. Let me out of this. right now. You joined voluntarily. The convoy doesn't release members. We drive until the route is complete. What route? We're looping the same 8 miles. The route is longer than you perceive. Please remain calm. Your delivery will be made on schedule. But I hadn't told them about my delivery. I tried everything. Cut the engine. It restarted instantly. Pulled the air brake. It released itself. Tried to unbuckle my seatbelt. It wouldn't unlatch. The truck ahead of me changed, slowly. Over the course of 20 loops, its trailer started looking older. The paint faded. Rust appeared. The tires aged visibly, going from new rubber to dry-rotted failures. I watched in my mirror. My own truck was aging too, faster than normal time. Each loop added months of wear. CB, what's happening to the trucks? Time passes differently in the convoy. We're traveling the long way. The road compresses distance but expands duration. You'll understand soon. The convoy was growing. Every few loops, a new truck appeared at the rear. I saw them join. A driver would fall into formation, and within minutes, they'd realize the same thing I had. They'd try to leave. They'd fail. By loop 50, there were 83 trucks, all trapped, all aging faster than they should. By loop 100, I understood. The convoy wasn't traveling through space. It was traveling through time. Each 8-minute loop moved us forward hours, days, maybe months in actual time. Inside the convoy, time was dilated, stretched, made elastic. My phone confirmed it. Every loop, the date jumped forward. Days passed per circuit. I'd been in the convoy for 3 hours subjective time, but according to my phone's calendar, it had been 4 months. 4 months compressed into 3 hours. I was aging slower than the outside world, but my truck was aging at normal time. Eventually, it would fail. And when it did, when my truck finally died from accumulated age, what would happen to me? I looked at the trucks ahead of me. Some were ancient now, decades old, models from the 1980s that had been modern when they joined the convoy. And the drivers, I could see them through their windows during certain loop angles. They looked wrong, mummified, skeletal, but still driving, still maintaining position. They'd been here so long they'd died, but the convoy kept them in formation, kept their trucks running, kept them as permanent members of this eternal circuit. CB, how do I get out? You don't. You drive until you become part of the route. Then you are the route. Then you're permanent infrastructure. What does that mean? The convoy needs maintenance, needs mass, needs drivers to create the temporal compression field that allows it to exist. When your body finally fails, your consciousness transfers to the truck itself. You become the vehicle, and the vehicle becomes eternal. I watched it happen to the truck 3 positions ahead. The driver's window showed only darkness now, no movement, no life. But the truck maintained perfect formation. Then the truck changed. Its exterior began to shimmer, becoming translucent. I could see through it, see the truck behind it through its cargo area. It was phasing, becoming less solid, transitioning from physical matter to something else. After 20 more loops, it was gone, not departed, absorbed, its mass and consciousness distributed among all the remaining trucks. We were all more solid afterward, more permanent. You felt that, the CB voice said. The integration. When a member completes their transition, they make everyone else stronger. The convoy feeds on its own participants. And when we're all transitioned, when every truck is phased and permanent, we'll finally complete the route. What route? Where are we going? Everywhere. Nowhere. We're building a highway outside of normal space, a road that exists in the gaps between moments. When it's complete, the convoy will be a permanent loop, an eternal circuit connecting all the impossible places. We'll be the backbone of the system, the infrastructure that allows all the other anomalies to exist. I understood. Mile marker 186. The rest area with no exit. The way station. The backwards radio transmissions. They were all connected, all part of a network. And the convoy was building the roads between them. Each loop we drove added 8 miles to that network. 8 miles of highway that existed outside normal time, linking the temporal dead zones. Centuries were passing outside, inside the convoy, weeks. My truck was 30 years old now, held together by momentum and the collective will of the convoy. I'd stopped eating, stopped sleeping. My body was sustained by the same force that kept the dead drivers in their cabs. New trucks kept joining, modern designs I didn't recognize, hydrogen fuel cells, electric drives, technologies that didn't exist when I joined, and old trucks kept phasing out, becoming road, becoming infrastructure. I was halfway transitioned now. I could feel it. My body wasn't entirely physical anymore. Sometimes my hand passed through the steering wheel. Sometimes I existed in the driver's seat and outside the truck simultaneously. The CB crackled. Tombstone 7-4, you're approaching integration. Thank you for your service. Your consciousness will be distributed along mile markers 142 through 150. You'll exist as road, forever. No, I don't want this. Your preference was nullified when you joined the convoy. You agreed to the route. The route is eternal. My truck was 40 years old, 50. My body was translucent. I could see the seat through my legs. And then I saw it. The thing at the front of the convoy. I'd never been able to see that far forward. Too many trucks, too much distance. But as I phased, my perception expanded. I could see through trucks, see beyond normal visual range. At the front of the convoy was the first truck, the original. It had been here since the beginning, looping this circuit for decades, centuries, maybe longer. It was massive, grown beyond normal truck dimensions. A semi the size of a building, its trailer stretching back impossibly far, containing all the absorbed mass of every integrated driver. And behind the wheel was something that had once been human. A skeletal figure, if it could be called a figure. It was the road, it was the truck, it was the convoy itself, the controlling intelligence, the organizing principle. It turned to look at me across 100 trucks and 1,000 loops. Its eyes were mile markers, glowing signs embedded in its skull, 142 on the left, 150 on the right. Welcome, it said through the CB. Welcome to permanence. Welcome to the eternal route. You'll never be late again. You'll never deliver wrong. You'll be the road, and the road goes everywhere. I was 90% transitioned. My truck was 70 years old, held together by probability alone. One more loop, and I'd phase completely. But something changed. A new truck joined the convoy. I felt it enter the formation, felt its mass added to our collective. But this truck was different. I could sense it. Whatever was driving that truck, it wasn't just a tired driver making a mistake. It was doing this intentionally. The new truck began accelerating, slowly at first, then faster. It was breaking the perfect 71 mile per hour synchronization. The convoy destabilized. Trucks flickered. The temporal compression wavered. For just a moment I saw outside, saw the real I-40, saw normal traffic, saw daylight that shouldn't exist in our eternal night. The organizing intelligence screamed through the CB. Maintain formation. Restore synchronization. But the new truck kept accelerating. 75, 80, 90. It rammed the truck ahead of it. The impact rippled backward through the convoy. Truck hit truck in a chain reaction that occurred simultaneously, in compressed time. The temporal field collapsed. Suddenly, we weren't looping. We were just driving. Forward. On normal I-40, in daylight. The mile markers were progressing correctly. 143, 144, 145. My truck was solid again. My body was physical. The date on my phone had corrected itself. Only 3 hours had passed. Not the decades I'd experienced. The convoy was breaking up. Trucks were peeling off, taking exits, desperate to escape while the field was disrupted. I took the first exit I saw. Behind me, I watched the convoy reform. The trucks that hadn't escaped fell back into formation. The temporal compression re-engaged. They faded from normal sight, phasing back into their eternal loop. But I was out. I pulled into a rest stop, a normal rest stop with doors and exits, and sat there shaking for an hour. Later, I learned about the new truck, the one that had rammed the convoy. They found it abandoned on I-40, its driver gone. Inside the cab was a note: convoy disruption successful, 17 drivers freed, remaining members reintegrated into loop. Will attempt additional extractions as opportunities arise. To any driver reading this, the convoy is hunting for new members. It appears on empty highways late at night, running dark, looking inviting. Do not join. There is no safety in numbers. There is only absorption. The note was signed, Marcus Webb, Temporal Resistance, Mile Marker 186 Division. I know that name. He was the driver I'd warned about the blown tire on I-70 years ago. The driver who got stuck in his own loop. He'd escaped somehow, and now he was helping others escape theirs. But the convoy is still out there. I-40 in New Mexico, I-80 in Wyoming, I-90 in Montana. Different locations, different loops, but the same entity. The same organizing intelligence building its network of impossible roads. Last week I saw them, running dark on I-70 through Kansas. 60-plus trucks, perfect formation, exactly 71 miles per hour. My CB crackled. Tombstone 74, you're welcome to rejoin the convoy. We saved your position. Number 64 is still open. I changed channels, changed highways, drove until dawn. But I know they're waiting. The convoy never forgets its members, and I was 90% transitioned before I escaped. Part of me is still there, still looping, still becoming road, and someday that 90% will pull the remaining 10% back. Someday, I'll see them on the highway, and I won't be able to resist. I'll join the formation. I'll become number 64 again, and this time, there won't be a disruption to save me. This time, I'll complete the transition. This time, I'll become the road, and I'll be part of the convoy forever, looping the same 8 miles for eternity, carrying cargo that was never loaded to destinations that don't exist, aging faster than time allows, until I phase out of reality completely and become just another mile of impossible highway, connecting nightmares. The CB is on right now, Channel 19. I can hear them calling. Tombstone 74, Position 64 is waiting. The convoy is incomplete without you. Join us, and drive forever. I should turn it off. I should stop. But I keep listening, because part of me, that 90% that's already rode, wants to go back. And someday soon, on some empty highway, at 2:16 a.m., I'll see those red tail lights stretching toward the horizon, and I'll accelerate, and I'll join the formation, and I'll never deliver my cargo to Flagstaff, because I'll have become the cargo, and the convoy will have one more permanent member, driving forever, looping forever, becoming road forever. Number 64, always number 64. Welcome to the convoy.